The 574th edition of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can win up to 100 times your entry with Underdog Fantasy's Pick'em. Sign up with MMA SGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer of up to $250 in bonus cash. That's UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code MMA SGPN. We're also brought to you by the Mega Memorial Merch Sale, 15% off everything in the SGPN merch store. Just use promo code SGPNMay.
Howdy ho, Degenerinos. Welcome to episode 574 of the MMA Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Since it's another regional episode, we got to dedicate it to a regional fighter who came through for some weekend. Chiquina Noso Pedro. Not just a fun name to say, not just three fun names to say, but someone who won Gumby and his acolytes mucho dinero over the weekend. So we shall get to that quickly before we give you some regional plays. UFC is back this coming week, but in the meantime, we got three regional events to cover for you. We're actually doing, I should tell you who I am. You may not recognize me too. My no hat on, beard's been trimmed, hair's been trimmed. I'm looking as probably as best as I'm ever going to look. It's all downhill from here. We are covering events basically a week out because there is not much regional action happening this coming weekend. So like the last weekend in May, June 1st weekend, weekend after or the week after, we got buttloads of regional MMA. So the next three episodes are gonna be Cage Wars, KSW, and LFA. And then next week we have even more regional MMA. So anyhow, we got you covered. This way you can get in on these lines the second they drop. Some of them actually have already, the KSW lines are already out there as well. So thought I would get that out of the way first. So you're not this coming weekend, you're not looking for these events and seeing that they're not there. So starting with Cage Warriors, it's an American Cage Warriors event in their home away from home, San Diego, but I'm not doing this alone because I know about regional MMA, but I don't know if I'm confident enough to pick regional MMA outside of doing topology picking. I do have someone who is comfortable doing it, even though speaking of, we always talk about fraud alerts. Speaking of fraud alerts, fraud checks, I read somewhere this man does not know his MMA because he picked a main event in an event wrong. So apparently that makes him a fraud. I think it also makes him a horrible human being as well. But we love him for it. It's Daniel Gumby Breland. Hello.
Yeah, I actually did have a down weekend a little bit. A lot of fights canceled from the ones we covered last weekend. In fact, 6 of them wound up being canceled. I wound up going 7-7, just down a couple of units because it was a real chalky weekend, which, regional MMA doesn't tend to be all that chalky. It's more about like finding your underdogs, which is where, we've been lucky in Noso Pedro, a perfect example, right? Like, picking us up a plus 225 underdog there. But yeah, the other ones, it all stayed pretty chalky. The underdogs weren't barking this weekend. And I mean, if you take a stab on a plus 350 underdog and it doesn't come through, apparently you're a wild fraud. So
yes, we don't really take any of these comments to heart, but good or bad. But yeah,
keep commenting though. It pulls up up the algorithm and gets more eyes on
exactly.
So
exactly.
Please.
Good or bad, it doesn't matter. It rolls like water off a duck's back. But yeah, it's good that a down week for you is still pretty much treading water week, which is good, especially if you're hitting plus 2 whatever dogs. So I'm sure you can cherry pick. I'm sure some people in the Discord and whatnot cherry picked your picks and had themselves a good weekend. So there you go.
Yeah, I even cherry pick my own picks if we're being honest.
Yep, exactly. You can't play you're not going to play 25 regional or however many. No, it was 22 the weekend before. It was 14 last week, and you're not going to play all those. Well, maybe you will. Some of the maniacs in our Discord will, for sure. So that would be sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. All right. So yeah, as I was saying, not this week, but next week, boy, this is like the calm before the storm. There is like every big regional promotion is running.
Yeah, I was trying to find some stuff for the weekend of June 1st, because obviously you guys could be listening to this at any time, but I was looking for stuff the weekend of June 1st. I found some stuff we might be able to do, but then like we weren't going to have enough time to cover everything else the weekend after the June 8th weekend. And let me tell you, this is, I mean, the Cage Warriors card, it's an American Cage Warriors card, so it's a little bit worse, but like that's the worst thing we have next week.
KSW is very good. LFA is very good. We got like multiple titles on the line. Names
we got a nice Octagon card that we'll probably hit next week. And then what was the other one? Oh, there's a nice Fury FC card too. And that's it hasn't even talked about one yet. I don't think we're gonna get to that because it's not a ton of MMA on that one. Yeah, but like the weekend, if you're an MMA fan, the weekend of June 8th, it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah. People ask some people ask for one, but it's really kind of not in our wheelhouse, right? Because there's not enough MMA really.
Last I checked, there were only 3 MMA fights on that card, and I can give you a kickboxing breakdown. Like I know enough about the striking and the scoring that I could, but like nobody's coming to me to talk about kickboxing. Like we talk MMA. That's my wheelhouse. I feel more confident giving you guys picks on MMA, and it's not like you can't get Fury lines too. So like we might as well cover the things that we'll be able to rob the books on.
Yeah, people are coming for fraudulent picks from the fraud Gumby Vreeland. Did your former training partner win this past weekend?
Did not. He had a really good fight with Jonathan Piersma. He was doing. I don't know how you would have scored the first 2 rounds. I think probably either 2-0 Piersma or 1-1 going into the third, and then Congdon had never been out of the first. Piersma, like the veteranness of his game, like kind of took over. Got a takedown and a rear naked choke. So, he fell to be in, I believe it's 5-1. So, that's a good prospect loss to a guy who's 9-2 in his headlined LFA cards.
Yep. You can't win them all. And in MMA, you really don't have to. You don't have to win them all to still make some noise in the sport. All right. Before we move on, we're just concluding the biggest week in racing. And of course, our boys, we had the Indy 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, the Coke 600. I don't know if any of these have happened yet. I don't follow racing. I have too much silly things I follow as it is. I can't follow racing as well. But 2 people that do follow it, Rod and Cody from the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and the F1 Gambling Podcast, they have you covered. And they also have their Kyle Larson diecast car giveaway that's going on right now. It's free to enter at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/race to register. And make sure to subscribe to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast and the F1 Gambling Podcast. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on your pod catcher. I'm always seeing slips and stuff that these guys are cashing there. Seem to be hitting massive plays in the vroom vroom honk honk. Oh yeah, we debated whether they honk or not in car racing. Maybe they honk, maybe they go honk honk.
I don't think they.
We don't know. Gumby says no, and he's an American. Americans know about these things. Speaking of America, it's your long weekend. We're running a mega Memorial Day merch sale this weekend. Not surprisingly, 15% off everything in our merch store. Promo code SGPN May. We have lots of good MMA Gambling Podcast merch. I am wearing a shirt right now with my catchphrase on it. So get in the merch store, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/store. And if we're not your cup of tea, I don't know why you're watching or listening, first of all, but if we are not your cup of tea, every other SGPN property is in there as well. All right. Cage Warriors 173. Is there anything else you need to discuss? People like when we discuss other things.
No, get to the freaking picks.
All right. Let's get to the picks. It's called scrub, people. You just scrub through the video, okay? If you don't want to see us talk. Anyhow, Cage Warriors 173, as Gumby said, it's an American one. San Diego is their place. Do you know why? Is what the link is there?
I think it's just an arena that's easy to get hooked up with, and the commission is probably sanctioned them a little bit easier than some of the other ones, which is weird. California is usually tough, but I'm pretty sure it's just having a good arena and a good commission.
Let's find the farthest place in the States for us to go to fly over to from England, right?
Yeah, that's, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. And, this is Cage Warriors 173. This, not this coming, June the 7th, which will be here before you know it. That is a week from this coming Friday, which is a good thing. It won't get in the way of UFC or busy Saturdays. 12 p.m. Eastern, another good thing, because none of you degens have real jobs anymore where you actually have to work. So, or you work from home. Wink, wink, wink. How do you say the arena name, Gummy? Sicuan Casino Resort.
I'm not currently looking at that word, so I have no idea.
SYCUAN. How do you say that word?
Sure. What you said?
The Sure Casino Resort, Gumby says, in San Diego, United States, aka California. In the cage, 5 fights. 10 fights. Excuse me. We're covering in depth 5 of them, and then if there's others that tickle Gumby's fancy, so to speak, that we will cover those as well. Tapology does not have it in order, so we're going to go off what, well, maybe they have it in order, but we're going to go off what Cage Warriors claims the order of the event is going to be. So we will break down the fights in that order. No odds for this yet. They probably, a week and a bit from now they'll drop. Is it Cage Warriors a midweek?
Yeah, probably Tuesday of fight week.
Okay. All right, we're going to kick things off with a main card fight, a bantamweight fight, James Settle versus Magomed Bayduev. So Settle is from the United States. Magomed Bayduev is from Russia. You guessed it. All right, let's break her down for you. Bayduev, 5-1, 1 knockout, 2 submissions. Never been finished in a fight himself. This is Cage Warriors' debut. He's won 3 straight fights. However, he's not fought in over 2 years, February of 2022. He's not lost since September 2019, 8 years younger than Settle. Settle is the king. Or just King James, right? Yes. 5 minutes. So 5-5 with 1 no contest, 3 knockouts, 2 submissions. He has finished everyone. He's been knocked out twice. 2-3 in Cage Warriors, 2-2 over his last 4. Won his last fight via TKO. 2 inches height over Bayduev. Any difficulty getting film on any of these folks on this year card?
No, Bayduev is fought a whole bunch of times for ACA. So it's usually pretty easy to find ACA fights. And Settle's fought a couple of times for Cage Warriors and a couple other promotions that are easy to get. I think Bayduev going to be a big favorite here for 2 reasons. Number one, if you've watched him in ACA, he's strong, and not just as a grappler, as you might expect somebody with an EV ending to their name, but his striking's pretty fast and sharp too. So first of all, I just think he's better. The level of competition he's fought is better and all that kind of stuff. But then secondly, he's also going to be a favorite because he does have a name like Magomed Bayduev. And for me, I'm going to go with Bayduev here. Settle is really long. He tries to use that length, but he's not particularly quick. And I really don't like his ability to cut angles. Like, I don't think he does that all that well. To be honest, I think this is probably one of the worst fighters Bayduev has fought recently. If you look at his ACA record, like, he is fighting guys a lot better than James Settle day in, day out, and he's beaten a lot of them. I like the way he moves forward. I like the way he backs his opponent up. And when you're fighting a guy who doesn't do a particularly good job of cutting angles or getting off the cage, that plays up. And then on top of that too, I think he does have, sort of the ace in the hole here, which is the grappling. If he chooses to take him down, I think Settle is just going to spend most of this fight on the bottom unless Bayduev submits him or TKOs him. So I'm guessing you're going to see a high 200 number, maybe cracking negative 300, but that's still, parlay material for me with Bayduev.
All right, Bayduev. So, sir, what was it again? Minus
300.
I don't pay attention to you. You've caught on, right?
I have caught on because I say it 3 times and you still ask at the end. So.
We haven't had any complaints about that yet, surprisingly. I guess people are too concerned about my appearance and whatnot instead. All right. And you butchering, you getting one pick wrong. I think the key to a lot of these things is you have to get the main event right, or people get super.
They get pretty bummed about the main event. That's true.
Yeah, always. You know what that means? They're casuals gonna be.
I've got a good feeling about this main event, if that helps.
Casuals don't even care about main events. We care about the opening fight on a regional fight card in Tajikistan. All right, that's what we're all about. All right, let's move on. We don't have a Tajikistan card today. Sorry. We are going. Actually, I probably should have done this fight first. But we don't care. We're all over the place here. This is another main card fight. Teddy Stringer. Hopefully, I'm not all over messing you up with your. Oh no, Gumby's right on top of things. I can't. No matter what order I do it in, Gumby is always a step ahead of me. Anyhow, Teddy Stringer. He is from England. He is fighting Jeremy Fattorusso from United States of America. So some English fighters are coming over. There's a lot of America versus America fights here. This is a catchweight fight, 165 pounds for these gentlemen. I think Stringer's normally a lightweight. Fattorusso is normally a welterweight. They're meeting in the middle. Fattorusso is the smiling assassin. Have we covered him before? I think I remember that nickname.
I don't think so.
Don't you remember? No? Okay. He is a smiling assassin. There's a lot of assassins out there. Not a heck of a lot smile. He's 2-2 with 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. I think you got to finish more than one person if you want to be an assassin. Just saying. 0-1 in Cage Warriors. 0-2 over his last 2. Got TKO'd in his last fight. That was back in June of 2023. He's not won since October 2017. Stringer, 3-0. 1 knockout, 2 submissions. There's an assassin. He's finished everyone. He owes his rounds. All those fights were in Cage Warriors, even better. 12 years younger than Fattorusso, 2 inches taller. My Tapology capping says Stringer is going to be the favorite here, Gumby.
Yeah, he's going to be a massive favorite, right? Negative 500. And I'm going to go with him too, because there are a couple of spots in this card where I think there are some pretty obvious favorites, and I'm going to go underdog, but this isn't one of them. Stringer, first of all, what I like about him on the feet is actually how not technical he is. He like brawls a little bit, and I actually like the way he does it. He kind of drags people into ugly looking fights with him. And the thing about Fattorusso is he's a guy who seems to freak out in pretty much every situation. Pressuring him, pressuring him, he freaks out. Shoot a takedown, he freaks out. Get him onto the ground, he freaks out. And like most of those things, obviously are bad in a lot of those situations. But the one that I think will cost him against Stringer here is that if Stringer shoots a takedown positionally on the ground, Teddy Stringer is very solid. He doesn't give up positions. He doesn't. He does the right positional thing before he does the right submission thing. He's a position over submission kind of guy. And Fattorusso is a guy who, like I said, since he freaks out a lot, sometimes when he gets taken down, he just like rolls over and tries to stand up and immediately gets his back taken. I've seen it happen in more than one fight. And with Teddy Stringer being the type of guy who takes advantage of those types of things against, even better competition than Fattorusso, I think Stringer is going to submit him probably pretty early here. But I also wouldn't be surprised if, when he starts to brawl, we see him have some success there too on the feet. So yeah, I'm going to go Teddy Stringer pretty much any way he wants here.
All right. Did you give us a number? I was listening. I don't think you gave me one.
I said negative 500 right out there.
Damn it, you did for real? I was trying my hardest to pay attention too. What happens? I hear all this stuff. I don't hear the numbers ever. Can you usually get prop bets on Cage Warriors? Anyone offer that?
Not really. Sometimes Bet Online sort of drops stuff last second. It allows you to get in on it before the fight card starts, but that's pretty rare.
Okay, because you're mentioning the way Stringer was going to win via finish for sure. Does Fattorusso at least smile when he's freaking out or not?
I don't think so. No, I'm going to say no.
So his nickname is a lie. Huh. Go figure. All right, before we move on. No, it's not. Before we move on, something that is great is Underdog Fantasy and the NBA playoffs. If you're a fan of one of the 4 teams that are left, well, maybe 3 of the teams that are left, maybe 2 of the teams actually that are left have a chance still. The NBA playoffs are here, and our sponsor Underdog Fantasy wants to make it a lot more interesting. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. Playing their pick'em game is as simple as selecting higher or lower on player stats like points, rebounds, assists, and so much more. Make entries of all basketball or mix and match across your other favorite sports. You can win up to 100 times your money, and it's a ton of fun. What you should do, good people, if you're a new customer, you get a pick'em special in the lobby when you sign up. Everyone else, when you go to underdogfantasy.com, you can see that they have daily specials on there, which is an important thing for all of us to do, whether you're a new customer or not. Plus, if that's not good enough, we always want more. We're greedy people. Underdog will also be running a ton of different promos, bonus cash airdrops, specials, giveaways, and more throughout the NBA playoffs. So make sure to follow their Twitter account at Underdog Picks and keep an eye out on all the news that they're putting out there. Plus, Underdog is available in 30 plus states, including California, Texas, and Canada, a new state of the U.S. They also just launched Champions, their player versus player format in Florida. Sign up with our promo code MMA SGPN. Pretty please. Not that part. That part's not the promo part. To claim your special pick and first-time deposit, offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy promo code MMA SGPN. Period. And then pretty please. Okay. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, to another winning pick for Gumby. Apologies. Well, there's no pop-ups at least on my screen today, so that's a nice thing. But all right, we are going to a featherweight fight. Damon Wilson, United States. Brandon Carrillo, United States. 3 5-minute rounds. Carrillo Lee. That's a great nickname, isn't it, Gumby? Or am I missing something here?
I have no idea.
Lee. He is 3-2, 2 knockouts, 1 submission. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. He owes his rounds. Damn it. This is his Cage Warriors debut. Loss over his last 3. Got TKO'd in his last loss. Oman and Bellator. Used to fight down at bantamweight, 4 years younger than Wilson. Wilson is the nomad. Now he finds himself in. Actually, he's not really a nomad. 7 of his 8 fights have been in Cage Warriors. Another fraud of a nickname. We have fraudulent nicknames all over today. The nomad is 6-2 with 4 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, 5-2 in Cage Warriors. Loss for him as well over his last 3. He's not fought since June of 2023. 2 inches taller than Carrillo.
I'm going to say Wilson's going to be a big favorite here, probably negative 350.
Negative 350. I heard.
And you get like plus 300 on the turn on Carrillo. And
plus 300.
I'm actually going to go Carrillo. I think
nice.
Despite the kind of brutal record he has, he's fought some really legit competition. Like you mentioned 0-1 in Bellator. That loss is to Bryce Meredith. Like noted training partner of Sean O'Malley, former D1 wrestling standout. Like, he fought a really good dude. And the thing about Carrillo is his best attribute is his grappling. Like both him and Damon Wilson are going to come into this fight, I think, trying to grapple. Both of them are fun to watch grapple, like in different ways, kind of like Damon Wilson. He's got some skills and good top game and good top control. Carrillo is like a little bit riskier and a little bit, like he tries to navigate to the back a lot quicker and stuff like that. But he in his own right is a really good grappler. I think because this line is going to be so wide, it's so easy to take an underdog at this because both of them kind of want to do the same thing. And if I'm being honest, I actually kind of like Carrillo's wrestling a little bit more than I like Wilson's. All I've seen from Wilson when he's wrestling, and again, lower level competition than we've seen Carrillo against, is like he seems to muscle it a little bit too much and more than I really like. And Carrillo, he just seems kind of technically sound. He stuffed a lot of Meredith's takedowns, which, if he's stuffing those, he can stuff Damon Wilson's. And granted, he did wind up on the bottom in that fight and wound up losing there. So don't get me wrong. It's not like he forced Bryce Meredith to stand and trade. But he did make it a dogfight. And I think if he could do that against Meredith, I think he could probably hold off Damon Wilson altogether. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him get his own grappling going. So if he comes in here as a big dog, he's definitely worth a stab.
Why do you think he will be a dog in this fight?
The record 3-2.
Yeah.
And coming off of a loss. And I believe he fought, was it Corvin Allen he fought last too? Who maybe doesn't have like the nicest looking record, but Corvin Allen is also like kind of a fun regional guy. And Carrillo had some success in that fight. Like he himself got his wrestling going a little bit and then just kind of got into a bad situation, being a little bit too risky with the grappling, which is, kind of his MO. Like I said, he sometimes does a little bit too much on top and just needs to settle in. But I think luckily for him in this fight, I think that'll work against Damon Wilson.
All right. Very cool. See, I asked the hard hitting questions, right? I don't just let Gumby skirt by giving you a plus 300. I want to know why. Why? Hopefully, how were you with your guessing odds for this past weekend? Were any of them way off or?
No, pretty spot on.
Good.
The Pedro Noso one, the one we mentioned at the top, he was, I believe, a bigger dog than I expected.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Yeah,
and Prinz wound up being actually Orlando Prinz fluctuated wildly all throughout fight week. So some of them, most of them opened where I thought they would. So.
We don't speak his name any longer, right?
Not anymore.
You're dead to us. You exposed Gumby for what he is. All right, before we move on, we're going to keep moving on, but we're going to tell you about Rhythm, one of our new friends that is sponsoring us. It's spelled, if you're not on YouTube, you'll may think it's spelled like a normal. Rhythm's kind of a hard word to spell to begin with, but they've changed it here. This company is RITHMM. Maybe that's easier for Rhythm. Who's to say? If you're betting on NBA player props, then you need to download Rhythm. Rhythm gives you a menu of the best player props for every single NBA playoff game. Make it easy to go through and find the best props to put your money on in seconds. Rhythm's predictions are backed by over 3 years of data and a team of data scientists and quants that focus on fine-tuning our algorithm to give you the best shot at winning. Rhythm pairs its predictions with player prop graphs to help you feel even more confident in your picks, which you can make wherever you normally place your bets or DFS picks. From superstars to bench players, Rhythm finds the best player prop lines, all backed by AI data, without you needing to endlessly scroll a sportsbook. Rhythm also allows you to create your own custom NBA models so you can get AI-backed money line spread and total picks for every playoff game. Start a free 7-day trial and start winning your NBA player props with Rhythm. Available wherever you get your apps. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, maybe there's 1.5. I think we always said there was 1.5. I think it may have increased, maybe 2.5 by now. We've had a couple reach out to say that they're in our audience. Ladies, that is. All right, we are going to a featherweight fight now. Roberto Hernandez, United States. Javier Garcia, United States. 3 5-minute rounds, 145 pounds. Tell about Garcia first. El Mariachi. So the Mariachi?
Yeah.
Classic. That's not a fraudulent. He's not a mariachi though. So I'm calling fraud check on this nickname as well. He's 10-5 with 1 no contest. He's 6 submissions to his name. So that is how he gets things done there on the ground. He himself has been submitted twice. This is his Cage Warriors debut. 2-0 with 1 no contest over his last 3. The no contest came in his last fight. He's not lost a fight since March of 2022. He used to fight at lightweight, 2 inches taller than Hernandez. Hernandez, Green Light is the nickname. 9-2, 2 knockouts, 2 submissions. He's been knocked out once, submitted once. 7-1 in Cage Warriors, 9-1 over his last 10. He got submitted in his last fight. Used to fight at bantamweight, a year younger than Garcia. Does the nickname mean he can steal the base at any time he wants, Gumby?
I think it just means that he moves forward at a high rate. Yeah. And I actually think that's his downfall in this fight. I think Garcia is going to be probably right around a plus 200 dog, and I'm going to go with Garcia here because, Roberto Hernandez, first of all, I think is going to be a favorite because A, his record looks a little better, and B, his last fight was for the Cage Warriors belts, which he obviously lost to, was it Liam Gittins? And in that fight with Liam Gittins, he had a lot of early success, but that forward pace and that forward pressure and all the work that he did eventually just tired him out, and he wound up giving up positions. And not for anything, I think Javier Garcia's grappling is really top notch. I am really impressed with this guy's top game. In his last fight, he went in there with it was Elijah Johns, and he went in there and he absolutely took the grappling to Elijah Johns, which is not an easy thing to do. That fight wound up going down as a no contest, but only because Javier Garcia put Elijah Johns in an arm triangle, had him damn near submitted, and the ref looked in, never touched Elijah Johns at all, and then called off the fight saying he was out when he clearly wasn't out. It was another one of those, which is terrible. But Javier Garcia's grappling game was a good enough to basically submit Elijah Johns. And when we saw, Roberto Hernandez kind of suffer in the grappling against Liam Gittins, Gittins is good grappling, but that's maybe not the way I think of him as a suffocating top grappler with crazy submission skills. But that is kind of how I'm starting to think about Javier Garcia here. And I think that if Hernandez had trouble with Gittins on the ground, particularly when he was tired, I think Garcia can, first of all, make him tired with the grappling, and second of all, has maybe even a better chance to submit him here. So give me the dog money on Javier Garcia. I'd bet him all the way down into even money if that wound up being the case.
And you think it's going to be where? Plus?
I said plus 200 earlier.
Did you?
Yeah.
Figure. I'm mesmerized by what he looks like. He's legit looking, that Javier.
Oh, I know.
It's amazing.
Yeah, he looks
braided
great.
hair, the awesome rolly fingers, mustache. There's a callback. Good stuff. All right, he's getting you another dog, hopefully. So until our maniacs in the Discord get a hold of that line, and then it will be steamed out of here. All right, we on to the main event already? We are, aren't we? This man always main events, the San Diego events. Does Wilson Hayes live in California now, I assume?
Yeah, I think he is. He one of the ones who used to train at the same gym as Dom Cruz.
Oh, Alliance MMA?
Yeah, I think so.
That makes sense. It says he fights out of Philadelphia now, but anyhow, he's always on the San Diego card.
Maybe he never did.
Yeah, maybe. Gumby does make things up sometimes. Wilson Hayes from Brazil originally. He's fighting Bruno Souza from Brazil as well. This is main event, but it's only 3 rounds, 5 minutes each, 145 pounds. We'll tell you about Souza first. The Tiger is 11-3, 1 knockout, 2 submissions, never been finished in a fight. This guy owes us some finishes. This is his Cage Warriors debut, 1-2 over his last 3. Won his last fight, has missed weight, so keep an eye on that. Used to fight at bantamweight, 0-2 in the UFC, was the LFA champion previously, 3-2 in pro karate, 11 years younger than Hayes, 6 inches taller, 5 inches of reach. Wow. That's a lot for a low weight class. All right. Hayes, 28-13 with 13 submissions. He's been knocked out 5 times, submitted once. 5-1 in Cage Warriors, 4-1 over his last 5, including winning his last fight via submission. Used to fight at flyweight and bantamweight. 7-6 in UFC, 5-4 in Bellator. Was regional champion, 2007 pro MMA debut, 1-3 as a pro grappler.
Yeah, so I think Hayes is going to come in here as a favorite. I'm not going to say by much. Let's say like -135, because Souza has been having a good time on the karate circuit, and obviously like what he does well is very obvious. He's a range kickboxer. And Hayes fought at flyweight for a long time, right? Like, so the size discrepancy is going to be obvious. I'm still going to pick Wilson Hayes here. And the reason why is I just think that grappling is going to play up against Bruno Souza. I think, Bruno Souza had trouble in grappling when he was in MMA. And now he's taken this massive break from having fought MMA and is just fighting these striking matches. And like, that's not going to help. Not having the live reps of an MMA fight is not going to help the fact that he was already bad at blocking takedowns. And Wilson Hayes, you could say what you want about how old he is or how many miles are on the treads or whatever, but like, the guy still can grapple. The guy's still got really incredible takedowns. He does a really good job of getting to the legs. He's got a lot of power. In fact, he's probably got more power than when he was in the UFC. So I'm going to go with Wilson Hayes. As long as he chooses to grapple early in this fight, he should have no problem executing the game plan.
And a decent line, hopefully, for that as well. All right, let's recap. I guess there's a chance it's not going to be a good line because he's kind of has a name, right?
Yeah, but doesn't Bruno Souza too? Like he fought.
Yeah, he was in the UFC. It's true.
I mean, he was in the UFC, and like the karate combat stuff seems to get pretty good click rates here. So like, and he one of those matches was up against the real famous guy in karate kickboxing too. The one that I'm never going to remember his name because I'm not a karate kickboxing guy, but
yeah, me neither. Sorry,
but it was up against. Hang on, the entrance on it. It was up against Raymond Daniels.
Okay, right. I do know that name.
Yeah, and we know that name. So,
Yes. Yeah. There you go. All right. Let's recap and see if Gumby has any lightning round picks for us. He's got Reis. He's got Garcia. Hopefully he's a dog. Carrillo, excuse me. Hopefully he's a dog. Stringer, not a dog. Definitely not a dog. And Bayduev, not a dog as well. Lightning round, crash, bang, boom. Do you have lightning round picks, Gumby?
Yeah, I'm going to go with two of them. I like Xavier Vines in his fight. He's going to be fighting Diego Bigelow. Xavier Vines was a guy who I kind of touted as a prospect coming out of the amateur ranks because he had like 1 billion amateur fights. He's only gone 2-2 since then. One of the losses is to the aforementioned Corvan Allen. And like I think he's looked mostly good in his ability to control the position. Diego Bigelow, I think, has had some issues with submission and grappling defense from time to time. I want to say he lost his last fight by Kimura or something like that. So I like Xavier Vines here. They're both 2-2 guys on a card like this. So it really wouldn't surprise me if they wound up being like pick 'em or close to it. So like if you can get Vines at close to a pick 'em, that's good. The other one I like is Anthony Da Silva, who's going to be fighting, what's the name again? Joseph Perez. He's listed as only 1-0, but he's actually got a fight or two on there. That Tapology just won't count because he fought such schmucky competition. But with that being said, he's fought amateur. Again, it's another one of those ones where I think we're underestimating the guy because his amateur record is, kind of hidden from the public. But like, if you dig into his amateur stuff, this guy's been fighting for years and he's looked good doing it pretty much all the time. I like the way he creates range. I like what he throws. He's going to be fighting Joseph Perez. Nothing against Perez. He just seems like less polished and like a guy who hasn't had a 10-fight amateur career before he came to the pro ranks. Both of them will be 1-0 going into it technically, although depending on who you ask, you might be able to get 2-0 or 3-0 out of Da Silva. But yeah, I'll take Da Silva and Vines as my lightning round picks here.
All right, fantastic. Hopefully you enjoyed this Cage Warriors episode on this lovely Sunday. We'll be back tomorrow with more regional MMA action for you. In the meantime, you can catch us in the Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. You can catch us on Twitter at SGPN MMA. You can catch Gumby at Gumby Reeland. You can catch me at Jeff Fox Writer there and on Instagram. You can obviously catch us and subscribe to us on YouTube if you aren't already. Thank you, everyone who has subscribed to that channel, MMA Gambling Podcast. You can catch me on my Substack, moneymma.substack.com. Free subscription will get you into my weekly Pick'em UFC Pick'em contest where you win real prizes. Gumby's got Top Turtle MMA Podcast. More on that in the next few episodes. We'll see who he has on this coming week, but it's always good interviews on his show. And of course, you can find us at sportsgamblingpodcast.com, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord, sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow. It'll be the Smiling Assassin, Jeff Fox, El Mariachi, Gumby Reeland. We'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.